Welcome to this edition of One on One. I'm Howie Rose, and it is great to reconnect today with former New York Met Butch Huskey, back in New York from Lawton, Oklahoma. Good to see you again, Butch.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I don't know that anybody has had a more potentially confusing major league debut than Butch Huskey. It happened in September of 1993. Butch was not even 22 years old yet, and the Mets end up getting no hit by the late Darryl Kyle. Welcome to the big leagues, Butch.
Yes, sir. That was a tough welcoming.
What do you remember about that night specifically, just from the standpoint of putting on a big league uniform for the first time, never mind getting no hit?
Well, I remember I'm supposed to fly out of Lawton, and my parents beat me to Houston, first of all, driving. And I get to the game, it's about 7 o'clock when I finally get there, and Dallas Green tells me I'm in the lineup. So, and then I'm hitting behind Eddie Murray. So that was tremendous. I was scared, first of all, going in there. I'm gonna be honest. I'd been home already, so Bobby Bo goes down. Someone calls my parents and say that I need to be in Houston. I wasn't believing that. I thought it was my minor league teammates playing around. So eventually it got the word, and I end up in Houston, and lo and behold, I'm hitting fourth, and Darryl Kyle goes out there and throws a no-hitter.
Now, you played the outfield that night, right?
I can't remember where I played. I think it was third because Bobby Bo went down.
Okay,
I think Bo went down. But they may have put Chico Walker over there. I can't remember. But I think I was at third.
Jay Harwitz wants us to know, by the way, Chico Walker was not related to Junior Walker of Junior Walker and the All-Stars, even though that note erroneously appeared in Mets media notes some time ago and made its way around the country as big news. So no relationship between Chico Walker and Junior Walker. But never mind that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, you're 21 years old, you're making your major league debut, you're in the Astrodome. Did you ever play indoors before that night?
Never played indoors, and I was just trying to take everything in because I was rushing around trying to get dressed and get my uniform together, and Charlie, our clubhouse guy, was trying to help me with that, and then the lineup sheet comes out and I'm in the lineup, and I go out there and go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. And
the guy pitched a no-hitter. It's a strong 0 for 4. It's a solid 0 for 4.
Yeah, and that's what I told myself, too, that he got future Hall of Famers Eddie Murray and guys like Joe Orsulak and the rest of those guys out. So I wasn't too upset about it, but it was a piece of history that I really don't like to relive.
Well, did you wear number 42 that first game, or did you have another number first?
No, I had number 10 because they didn't have the 42 ready. So they had 10 jersey already there.
I mentioned 42 because, of course, it's been retired around Major League Baseball in honor of Jackie Robinson, but Butch was wearing it the night that it was announced by Commissioner Seelig at Shea Stadium with President Clinton on hand, along with Rachel Robinson, that number 42 would be permanently retired. When you took 42 initially, was that as a tribute to Jackie Robinson?
Oh, most definitely. I did reports about Jackie Robinson in high school, and that was just a small tribute that I could pay to the Robinson family for making it to the big leagues. Just a way of me saying thank you to them.
Did you ever literally get to say thank you to Rachel since you're in the same place that night?
That night I did, and she signed the jersey I wore that night, and it's hanging on my wall to this day.
Did you have any idea that the commissioner was going to announce that your number, obviously Jackie's, but the one you were wearing that night, would be retired in perpetuity?
I had no idea. Had no idea, and it was one of the best nights of my career to be able to say and be proud to wear number 42.
What was your initial reaction? That number's on your back while they're making that announcement. Did you think you were going to have to change numbers maybe for that game?
Well, I thought so, but, you know, the guys in the dugout, I was just looking around. I said, did they just say that 42 is retired? And that's when those thoughts started running through my. But then they let me know that anyone that was still wearing it could wear it, and it would never be issued again after that.
Did you have any jewelry with 42, as a lot of players had with their numbers?
I sure did, and I don't know where it is now. I've moved a couple of times, and I don't know where it is. So
you can just say that's been retired along with the number. That's all. But you know, the reason I ask you what position you played that night is because, if I do remember right, you came up through the Mets system as a third baseman, but they moved you around a little bit. You played some first base. You played the outfield. And it's hard enough getting to the big leagues under ideal circumstances where you're playing your position when you get to the major leagues. But to get there and then have them chuck you an outfielder's glove and say, hey, kid, go play right field or something. Can that kind of alter your progress a little bit?
I don't know if it could alter your progress, but you just have to work in spring training. And I took it upon myself to try and learn those positions after the fact. But I think it was a third baseman because I came up and played third base for a few years before we made the Baerga trade. And that's when Alfonso went to third and I went to the outfield then.
And when you came up, the Mets were a team in transition. They actually had bottomed out in '93, losing over 100 games.
104.
He remembers. How about that? Well, you only came up in September, so you can't take responsibility for almost any of it. But the thing of it is that at the end of that season, you kind of draw a line in the sand and say, that's it, things are changing. And they did change. Dallas Green, of course, had taken over as manager during that season. Joe McIlvaine came back to the organization as the general manager. Was it exciting, even though the team lost all those games, to still be a part of something that was really building from the ground up?
It was exciting for me because I was getting a chance to live out my childhood dream and play Major League Baseball. And, you know, it wasn't as fun with the wins and losses, but to me, internally being up here with these guys and the guys that were on the team, it was an unbelievable feeling.
How was Dallas Green to play for as a young player? Because Dallas could be an old school disciplinarian type. Was he nurturing at all towards young players? Something
Not
he never
at all. Not at all. He made you grow up really fast and go out there. He was pretty tough. He was tough, but, you know, as a kid, you think you're brought up tough to be able to deal with every kind of situation whenever it's thrown in front of you. So I think my parents did a great job of doing that. It affects you, but it doesn't affect you to a level where you can't go out there and compete and do your job and do what you're supposed to do.
Give me some examples of Dallas Green tough love, if you even want to call it that.
You really want to know the truth?
Sure.
It was one spring training. I came in a little heavy, and he sent me to Duke Dining Fitness Center and out of camp. And the team, guys, Doc and those guys, Anthony Young, rest his soul, and a lot of guys were really upset that Dallas had done that. But I couldn't get my uniform until I came back. And that really taught me a lesson right there of if I wanted to play baseball or not, because that was such a low time in my life because it got broadcast on national TV about what happened.
How long were you in the program for?
Just 2 weeks. 2 weeks, but I think it was more of the embarrassment of having to go down there. And John McSherry was there, a former Major League umpire, and a couple of NBA players were there at the time I was there. But the best thing about it is I got to go watch a Duke, North Carolina game while I was there.
Well, let's go back to Dallas Green for a second now. That was an example, and you know, you might not have used the term tough love, that was mine, but were there occasions after you got back that he gave you the indication that, okay, you did what I asked you to, we're cool, and you kind of start with an even or clean slate, or did he hold a grudge?
I think he sent me to AAA right after that.
That's a grudge.
So I don't know. I mean, to tell you the truth, I really enjoyed playing for him when I got back. And, you know, him and Bobby Wine, that staff, they were pretty good guys. And they're just tough on you. But as a player, you know what you have to go out there and do. I mean, I was out there playing for my teammates in the city and not per se Dallas Green. When I get a chance to play, I go out there and do what I'm supposed to do.
And when Dallas left and Bobby Valentine came in, was that kind of a rebirth for you, or was that just a different chapter with different pitfalls?
No, it was great. I mean, I had a good relationship with Bobby. I had played for him in Norfolk when he was down there, and then I had come up here before he did. So Bobby and I had a great working relationship. He knew what I could do and knew what kind of player I was. So, but he's a tough guy also to play for. But you just go out there and do your job.
And eventually you did your job, hitting over 20 home runs, drove in a bunch of runs with the Mets, and with a bunch of kids, really. I mean, you played for that team 94, 95, 96, when they're getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better every year. What are a couple of your fondest memories of growing with that group?
I think just the camaraderie of knowing that we're going out there every day competing and getting better. And I like to tell people that we set the foundation for the 98, 2000, those guys to go in there and win the World Series, because we always heard about those guys coming up through the minor league system. And those guys were winning at the lower levels, and they came up to the big leagues and started winning.
And there were guys who moved around. I know we talked about you going third base, first base, never mind right field. You had Vizcaíno was a shortstop, and then they moved him to second base because there's this kid, Ray Ordonez, who joined the ball club from Cuba and made an immediate impact defensively. And Ray is, just look at the little smile on Butch's face. Ray was a character.
He was a big character.
What are some particular reminiscences of Ray Ordonez, first from the baseball standpoint and watching his incredible talent, particularly defensively, and as a bit of a kook?
I think baseball-wise, defensively, he's probably the best one that I was around. I mean, he could make every play. And actually, to a fault, he got to too many balls because a lot of those balls were returned into errors because another shortstop wouldn't get to those balls. But defensively, he was one of the best I ever seen.
Did you play left field at all when he was at shortstop? That had to be an experience because he had range, and he's gone further and further out into left field than most shortstops we'd ever seen.
He would say, "Husky, I got it. You relax today." So I would go over there and let him know he was all right if he was going toward the wall or the fence or anything like that. So.
There were times when he and Bernard Gilkey almost came together rather violently when Gilkey was playing left field. Did you have a different approach than Gilkey? Just let Ray take it?
Well, I wasn't as fast as Gilkey, so I didn't get to the balls that Gilkey got to. But Ray, he's unbelievable. I speak to Ray to this day.
Do you really?
And he's still an awesome guy.
Is he in Florida now? Because we've seen him down there before. I don't know where he's
in Florida.
settled.
He's in Florida.
And just between us, does he speak in English?
Broken English.
Well, then his broken English is probably a lot better than he ever would let us on to believe. Ray pretended not to know or understand a word of English with the media when he was here. And then if you just happened to be in a neighborhood, you'd hear him talking as salty as a lot of other people who were born.
He understands more than what he led on to be, and he could speak more than what he led on to.
Who are one or two of your other favorite teammates from those days?
Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones, we had a great relationship when he was here. And even 10, 15 years, 20 years after we both left baseball, I've been to his house out in California. I've gone to his charity events he has in California. So he was probably my best teammate, best friend on the team.
Well, there were some fun times with that club in the 90s as a lot of kids just kept getting better and better seemingly every year. Your best year, as I mentioned here, you hit over 20 home runs, drove in around 80 runs. Did you think you were going to be a 10-year Met at that point? And when you left, when you were dealt, did that hurt?
Oh, it stung really bad. I thought I was going to be a Met. You know, a lot of guys don't get to play with one team for their whole career. And being in the organization from 1989 to that time was 1997, I figured that I was going to be a Met for life. And it didn't happen, and it kind of opened my eyes to the business of baseball and what I needed to do from then on to make sure I was taken care of, my family was taken care of. But it hurt pretty bad.
Was there a signature home run or moment in your career as a Met that, in a private moment, you might even reflect on to this day?
I think it was my first big league home run off the Jumbotron in Shea, off of Hideo Nomo his rookie year. That's the one I remember the most.
That's when Hideo Nomo, who would later become a Met, was with the LA Dodgers, although I think you were gone by the time Nomo came to the Mets, right?
Yeah, I was gone.
So you played for a few other teams in the major leagues. What is Butch Huskey doing today?
Currently, I work for Goodyear and basically coaching my daughter's teams, her softball teams that she plays on. We have a travel team, and it keeps me busy, really busy.
And Lawton, Oklahoma is still home, huh?
Yes, sir. I love Lawton. Love Anadarko, love Apache. Those are all the places right there within 30 minutes that I've lived of each.
Well, we love reconnecting with so many of the alumni who have come through Citi Field this year, and it's great to see Butch Huskey again. Butch, thanks so much.
Thank you, Howie.
All right.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you next time on One on One. I'm Howie Rose.